The series begins with a young man named Diab, whose name is Debo. He kidnaps someone in Shawwal because he wants to take revenge on him, and he broadcasts live on the social networking site in order to film his revenge on people. But when he opens the Shawwal, he finds a girl he does not know, and she is afraid of him at that time and tries to entreat him so that he does not do anything to her. So he finds out something for her. He apologizes to her for this mistake, and suddenly the girl is able to laugh at him, steal his car, run away, and we will return. In time, for a period of time, Dabo is preparing for the PlayStation match, in which he is competing with a woman named Ismail, and his friend Mans tries to advise him to leave this match, because Ismail cannot win it, and does not show mercy to anyone. But Debo insists that he enters the match, so that he is not afraid of anyone. And then we see Debo, and he is ready. He is ready for the match, and when the match starts, it shows Debo that he does not know how to play. Even Ismail is much smarter than him, so Mans tries to send Ismail a letter, and writes to him that his father died. But Ismail is surprised that his father died, and that Mans is the one who sent him this letter, and he goes to him and asks him to stop the nonsense and jokes they are sending him. So Mans was surprised to hear his number being registered, and Ismail appreciates it. He wins 15-0, and we know that he and Debo were betting that whoever would win, he will take 200,000 pounds. But Debo does not have the money, and I have 23 pounds in my hand for Ismail, and he says that it will be given to him and what money will be next. So Ismail scratches at his words and gets annoyed with him, and they decide to suspend him and Mans as punishment for cheating on him. And Debo is afraid that his father will know what happened. So Mans' house becomes very tense and is sold to Debo. He called Daddy to come, and at the same moment he arrived, Debo's father is surprised that his son is attached and gets tired when he sells it. He learns that he has a bet for 200,000 pounds because he lost on the PlayStation. So he tells Ismail to leave Debo with him because he doesn't want it. The next day they are surprised to learn that he was negligent with him and sold a monster and decided to make him happy. So Debo's grief is strong due to the words of his father and Bella. As luck would have it, he was invited by a stranger whose name they did not know, Abdul Qadir. Suddenly the door banged and the man met him. He brought the basbousa and did not want to take money from Debo, and in exchange for it, he fingerprints on the paper he has, and he comes at that time and reassures Debo about fingerprinting, and Debo returns for his birthday and blows out the candles, and suddenly his father changes 180 degrees and goes back to dealing with him in the old way, and he gets tired of him, and they know that he is stupid and foolish, and that the check he fingerprinted on is this, because he will be held accountable, and every pound he spent will be taken from him. Al-Qadir, the lawyer and paperworker, writes on it and asks for all the expenses. Talat asks Debo to pay him 998 pounds. And then we will see that Talat is in the name of the police, so he can file a report on Debo that he owes 998 pounds and must pay them. At your house, Abdelkader is with Debo on the side, and they know that he will fall on my door. I cut the amount over 12 months, so that he could pay it off, and Deeb goes with a platform to an employment agency to look for a job and find out that it is the job. The available one at the moment is a sewer diver. She and Tatum are in the house, and he rejects him. Suddenly there is a person who is fighting in the place and walks away because he is shocked by the job they offered him. So what is the job that upset the man in this way? So he leaves her. The job, night shift manager, is in a hotel, and its salary is 50,000 pounds, and it is paid in advance. He is also very sweet and loves hams. But the employee asks from Debo. He reads the terms of the first contract before it goes through. But Manas refuses and insists on Debo that he completes the contract quickly in order to take the 0,0,000 pounds. because this is a good opportunity that cannot be compensated. So Debo agreed at all times without thinking, and he returns the house to his sister, Ola, who loves him very much and brings her all the toys and needs. The one who was in it and called him to his father to let him know that he had found a job and also taken money, and I had a portion of the amount he owed in my hand. His father was surprised that he found a job so quickly, and then he took Debo to the hotel where he was going to work, and Stereo thought the security employee was going to the club to play tennis because of his clothes. So he sold Debo that he was the new manager of the night shift. And then Stereo got nervous and apologized to him but Debo did not like the hotel decor or the clothes. The employees said that the hotel has a lot of animals, so they told Lou Stereo that the hotel was originally designed to accommodate animals, and at the same time, the employee who takes care of the comfort of the animals during their stay in the hotel comes to Real, and she is surprised that Deb is the new manager. She suddenly starts crying and starts telling the news to all the employees. The day chef imagines that a new manager has arrived, and she asks Fariel to show Debo a place and hand him his work clothes, and he tells her that she is upset because of Debo, and then we see Debo wears work clothes and feels like a traveler, and is taking advantage of his rooms with dogs because it's better than his room, and then he goes in search of meat with great intent to eat the tiger. And he comes out of the room quickly because he's a little afraid, and Bella is in deep water and the alarm is ringing, and all the employees are running. So Ashyan tells him that it's 7 o'clock, and they have to walk quickly before night. And Daibu is surprised. I don't know why they're running. Why are you afraid of this night? Except that he will stay in the hotel alone. At that time, he hears Deep Yeba Ashgan talking on the phone. And he believes it when he learns that she is receiving £3,500. He finds out that his salary is $50,000, so she gives it because he will hold the shift at night, because no one is willing to hold it. Ever. So what happens to her, Daibo? Is it that makes everyone so terrified? But Ashyan does not answer him, and keeps praying. He said that God would protect him, and at night suddenly the door would be locked in Daibo's face. He is alone and does not know how to open it again, and the lights are all turned off at that time, and he feels very afraid. Bella is in front of a room that contains a statue of a chimpanzee, so it turns white, so that he does not get afraid every now and then, and suddenly the statue moves and trembles, especially when he finds the statue that has disappeared, and he runs to escape from the hotel. But as soon as the lights go out, it starts working again, so it disappears. He hides in the bathroom, and at the same time he finds someone holding a knife around his neck and threatening him he will kill him, and I will cut off the meat and his hands for the poor. But then this person discovers that the cleaner who will filter you, Debo, is running away and is dismantling my pastry in front of him and asking him to help him. But Stereo is different and acts like a thug and is nervous and hits Debo, threatening that if he thinks about harassing Debo's Stereo in the morning, he will see you at night. He will not be merciful. And then Debo will listen. He says that he walks and writes that the main door of the hotel is electric, and then Debo and Petra are shocked. When he sees Asad running after him, he goes to the hotel. I am at the window and closes behind him. She sends a message to Ma to come and save him, but his mobile phone turns off by itself. At the same moment, the TV and the phone are on, and the person who wants to kill him responds and tells him that he is standing behind him and has come to the refinery. It's really like... What he told him was that this person hit his brain with a filter, and then a little while later, he goes to his house and sees the person who wants to kill him holding a razor and shaving his beard. So he forgets his name and knows that his name is Muhammad, and he is curious to understand why he wants to kill him. They do not know, but Muhammad is surprised that he is the one who was killed and wants to take revenge on him. So Saddam Debo comes home, because this means that he is Muhannad in the first place. He is dead, and this is a ghost. And then Muhannad says that he killed him to take his place, because he was the manager here in the hotel before him. And Muhannad knows everything about Deeb and his family, and Biff came that his mother was murdered, and the reason for her death was his father. So Deeb's house is dying, and he does not believe it. But Muhannad knows that he will be able to verify this himself when he kills him, because then he will meet his mother, and she will tell him herself, and they will know that he can help him escape from the hotel. But he didn't want him to come here again and take his place, so Debo agreed. Without thinking, he tells Muhannad that he must escape from the roof. At the same time, he goes to Daibu's house to inform Talat that his son is in trouble and he calls for help. At that time, Talat is very happy because his son will dry up and remain a man. At that time, he is a guest in the elevator and tries to go to the roof to escape, but the electricity cuts him off and comes back on. Suddenly, he gets terrified because he finds a tired person on the roof of the elevator, so I quickly get out of it. But he
then takes pictures of him and fights with Debo because he ruined his life. But Abdelmabud tells him that he is finished with drunkenness. He committed adultery and murder, and there was nothing else left for him to do except give his soul. Then Debo goes home and sees Stereo being beaten, and he is unable to protect his father, as he was asked to do. At that time, the kids who hit Stereo attack Debo, and he too, and beat him. At the same time, he is in the hotel, and they surprise him, Dad. We learn that Abdelmabud and Ashan are Rudy's family, and are planning a plan against Debo with his help. Abdelkader is then calling Abdelmabud Nezma, who made Drumo Rudy, and wants to take her money in exchange for her representation in the plan. And we go back in time for 3 months, and we see Abdelmabud, who is in the name of the police. And Abdelkader comes to him and talks to him, and he learns from him that he has an interest. He will take him 200 million from it, and he tells you that he met a customer whose name is Arafa, and he brings him hashish from Morocco, and he has a special hotel for animals, and every day. In Morocco, the employees leave the hotel to visit the cabaret at night, and there is a person who wants to buy the hotel and wants to let me know it, but he completely refuses. He sells the hotel and breaks up his time with Abdelkader. He plans with him. Then we see Abdelmabud, who is with Arafa and has a party planned for him. Suddenly, Arafa takes an extra dose of drugs and dies. So he stays with Abdelkader to help him with the misfortune that happened. When Abdelkader arrives, he reassures Abdelmabud that everything will be as it should be. They don't want to, and then he stays with Abdelmabud and his family, and they learn about the plan that will be implemented, so they will take control of it. 40 million pounds, and they need to focus so that he is not imprisoned. He arrogantly tells him that her name will be Ashan, and she will play the role of a demon, while Rizka will be called Rudy, and she will play the role of a journalist, and Abdelmabud will be the thug, and he knows that there is a stupid person named Diab, whose name is Debo. He convinces him to go to his employment office so that I can get him a hand. A job in a hotel costs 50,000, and if he thinks about leaving the job, he will pay a Condition A penalty of 50 million pounds. And since this is how all the employees go to Morocco quickly, and they are afraid of his knowledge and instructions, the line will follow Debo exactly because he is stupid and will not suspect anything. And at that time, they controlled everything to show Debo that the hotel is haunted, and Muhannad will come to scare Diab and work as he is in his mind. At that time, they cut off Abdelmabud and tell him that the security employee's stereo is crazy. He knew that he did not know how to control it, so it would seem to Al-Qadir that they were not. They are living and must die. and Debo understands that the spirit of Satan is in Abdul Maboud's body, and Debo stands in shock and cannot believe it. Then Abdul Maboud goes to a suit shop and buys a suit for him and Debo, and the pure car Debo brought for him as well. And Debo is in a state of shock at what is happening. And then he finds Debo Abdul Maboud and takes him. She has no money and distributes money to people, and I have 1,000 pounds in hand to give it to the boss. They know that money is what lifts people up and puts them above them. And when they enter her night money, they sit with a person named Ziad, and they tell Abdel Maboud at that time that Debo wants to participate in his company and pay off all his debts, but he will have the largest share of the shares. He tries to convince Ziad and make him think, and when Ziad leaves, he asks Debo Abdel Maboud about what is happening. They say that he is taking advantage of Ziad's circumstances in order to take his company from him at the same moment. A girl named Abir comes and wants to get to know Debo, and she and Abdel Maboud grow up. He drinks wine and tries it, and Debo is happy that Abir is dancing with him, because this is the first time a girl asks him to dance with her. And the next day in the morning, Debo is shocked that he slept next to Abir, and then talks to Abir and knows that he is not. He wants to do anything forbidden, but Abdul Maboud says that he must pay what he owes, and I give him his soul, even though he is a soul. Ashyan follows why, and then Deeb goes to Rudy to warn her that she is spreading any news about Abdul Maboud, but she refuses and shouts the news because she is not a coward like him. Suddenly, Abdul Maboud appears behind Rudy, so she gives and asks how he entered her house. And then Abdul Maboud threatens her that she is delirious and I will kiss her soul. So she loves Sakina so that she threatens him with it. Suddenly, Debo and Rudy burst into tears without realizing it. She is fumbling with caution, and he is against her. And Abdel Maboud entreats Debo to make him write about her mother's life, because she screams and exposes him. He responds without realizing it, and goes with him to the cut-off place to bury the body of Rudy's mother in it. And Abdel Maboud, where are these words coming from? Deep Rudy thinks they are running and escaping quickly from Bakr, so I want to get out. Bakr comes after them, but a car comes and flops and dies. And then the stereo is playing, because Deeb agreed with him that he is the one who kills Bakr in exchange for money. So Debo's father beats his brains with a stick to silence him, and then Debo goes to Abdel Maboud and says that he is sad that Bakr died, but he was not the one who killed him. So Abdel Maboud screams very loudly, and she appears. He has a crush and they dance together, and Debo returns home upset and sad, and then he decides to leave. He cuts off Debo's connections because they are making it difficult for him. So Abdel Baki gets angry with him and walks away. The next day we see Debo with Rudy, and he tells her about his ability that suddenly appeared, and that Abdel Maboud asked him to kill the remaining 4 people, and Bakr, who died, was one of them. So they took Rudy to someone who would draw pictures with artificial intelligence to describe to him the appearance of the people whose pictures he worshipped. And then he would be shocked that Talat Abu Deeb was one of them. And Debo would be shocked that his father is involved in a crime like this. And Rudy tells him that it is impossible for him to tell Abd al-Maboud if she turns out to be his father. When Debo returns home, he finds his father and tells him that he likes Bag and feels that he has known her for a long time and wants to marry her. So he prefers that his father feels guilty for what he did a long time ago and wants to correct his mistake when he goes to the hotel. He decides to ask Stereo to leave the hotel and walk away, and he understands that he is doing this for his own good, because at night he turns into a strange and harmful second person. And then Debo is shocked that Muhannad has become the hotel's day shift manager, and Debo goes to Abdel Maboud and has a picture of his father, and they learn that this person asked about him, and he turned out to be dead, an immigrant, and no one knows anything about him. At the same moment, Ashyan appears and tells them that the person who they talk about him, neither Matt nor Hajar. So Bait is tense at the time, and he tells them why they want to help him, since they know everything. One thing, and then Debo is in Hussein with Abdel Maboud and Ashyan, and at that time Ishkan stumbles into one of the women and feels that she is hurting from the knock. I was very surprised by Debo because she is not supposed to feel his soul, and suddenly he comes out and stands next to Debo, and Abdel Maboud is in the male circle, and Debo is afraid for his father at that time, that Abdel Maboud knows him. Suddenly, the sheikh shouts at Abdul Maboud and veterinarian and tells him that he is his devil. It's not like them. Deb was surprised by Debo and believed it. Then Debo was at home and found a stereo, and he came to him and threatened the developer. He tried to guide Debo and guide him, and they knew that he wanted to do such a mission. Now, he was wanted to protect his father, and I gave him £1,000 as a deposit. Then Debo goes with Rudy to Saeed Al-Jari's house, and suddenly someone grabs Rudy. He gets stuck and is able to catch Debo too, and then Stereo gets afraid and runs away and leaves. His friend is with Rudy and Debo, and then Debo is shocked that this is not Saeed Al-Jari's apartment, and that they entered the wrong apartment, and that the person who caught them is the owner of the apartment. And then they go to Saeed's apartment and sit with him, and he thinks about trees and what happened to her, and also about her picture, and he stabs her husband, wanting to kill him and take revenge on him. So Bees left them because of Abdul Maboud. He did not marry Ashyan, but he loved her and died there, and she was his wife, even though Ashyan was she walks with all the men, and her reputation is very bad. Debo and Rudy's house is ruined at that time. The surprise is when Saeed says that Talat was the head of his group, but he suddenly disappeared, and no one knows where he went. When Debo returns to the hotel, he confronts Abdel Maboud about what he knew and asks him to tell him the truth. Abdel Maboud tells him that it is the scent of Ashkan's soul, to go to a better place and rest, and at this moment there is a coffin in a corpse. He also says that it is the scent of this spirit because he thought he knew everything. So he is afraid of Debo and asks who Abdul Maboud is. So he says that it is the devil. He tells Debo that he is like Abdul Maboud and lost and could ruin his life. He tells him that Abdul Maboud proposed to Ashkan because he loved her, but she flattered him in front of everyone. She destroyed him, and at that time, Abdul Maboud sold his life to him, and the Ashjans were created, and he took revenge on her and those who were with her, and the rest are still there, while he is praying and praying, and you know that he misses her very much, but she cannot tell him this, except when he gives her her rights. Why did you choose him specifically? But Ashyan does not respond and tells him that he is close to knowing. The answer suddenly disappears, and when Abd al-Maboud sees Debo wearing the jacket, he starts looking crazy and asks where he got it from. Debo tells him that Ashkan is the one she gave him and her will, and she also told him that he is her monster. Abd al-Maboud exclaims that he is happy, but he wants to see Ashkan and talk to her, and then Abd al-Maboud decides to go to the graves. To visit Ashyan, and Dib tries to convince him that they should go and come back in the morning because he is afraid, but Abdul Maboud refuses, and then Ashyan appears and talks to Abdul Maboud, holding the things she loves in her hands, and he sadly apologizes to her because he did not know how to protect her. Suddenly, Ashjan disappears and walks away, and at the hotel, Mysterio comes to Debo because he got out of prison and left them, and then Abdul Maboud comes and tries to keep him away from Debo. But Stereo, he makes fun of him, and at the same moment, Abdel Maboud's cats come with him, Stereo and Beach. And then Debo is in the kitchen with the Ethiopian cat, and he hears them saying that Manas is standing in front of the hotel gate and is knocking. When Dib opens the window, he discovers that what Ethiopians are saying is true, and Manas shouts at him loudly and is shocked that the cat is talking to him. So he runs to Abdul Maboud to tell him what happened, and this leaves him. Abdul Maboud is very happy, and they know that the meaning of Habash talking to him is that he has finished with something big and strong and is asking him. He goes down to Nas and opens the door for him and takes him into the hotel because he has news, and she asks him that he works in the hotel. Debo is surprised that Abdel Maboud knows what platform he will tell him. In Beirut, Dib al-Mansas is as Abdel Maboud asked him, and they are reconciling alone after it was closed, and at that time, Debo is thinking about leaving her. He spent all his money on his mother to help him travel, and now his mother found out and expelled him. He stayed on the street and asked Debo to occupy him. He is with him in the hotel, and then Debo is shocked that Abdel Maboud knew what Manas was going to ask him. Then in the hotel, Debo asks Manas to enter the kitchen and wash all the dishes and cups, so Manas agrees to do anything, and Debo returns to Abdel Maboud to inform him that he worked with Manas as he was asked to do. But Abdel Maboud says that this is not important, and that they must start the plan and search for the 4 people and kill them. They know that there are 2 of them who cannot be reached, but the other 2 are Saeed al-Jahari and Bakr al-Kurdi. At the same time, Mons is banging on the door, so Abdel Maboud quickly hides. At that time, we notice that Debo is treating Mons as a beast in order to get bored and let him walk. Then Debo notices that he can read Mons's thoughts and takes advantage of Mons at that time. The abilities that Debo has are that he knew that he wanted to steal the watch, and suddenly when he touched Debo's platform, he is able to stab him with a strange force, and this makes Debo get shocked, both of him and him. And then Debo goes to a place that specializes in drawing tattoos, and we learn that it belongs to Bakr al-Kurdi. And Debo finds out that Rudy is in the same place, and he asks how she came here. So she got a video and a picture of Abdel Maboud, and he tells her everything, and they know that she has decided. The truth comes out, and they fight together over who will enter Bakr first, and at the same moment he will leave Bakr, tells Debo and Dory that they can go together at the same time. And then Rudy talks to Bakr and asks about a person named Taufik Abdelhay, so he sells out. He is a friend of his. They were gathering together, and at that time Rudy thinks about the fateful party in which most of his friends died, one behind the other, in Saddam's house. Bakr gets tired and asks if she knows all of this, and because of him, he remains imprisoned. Debo goes to Abed Maboud, and they ask how Ashyan knew that he was in the hotel, while he told him that no one knows that he is sitting in the hotel. So Abdel Maboud shouts at him and tells him that no human being knows anything about him. The thing is that Ashyan is a soul, and Bev is that she remains his wife, who died, and he brings Debo, that he upsets her because she will not leave him because she chose him specifically. Then Debo learns from Fariel that Ashyan has submitted her resignation and said that she has found the right person. At home, Debo is very nervous, and then he decides to go to Rudy, the newspaper where she works. There he meets a girl named Alam, who keeps flirting with him and tells him about her and her husband's problems, and that they are fighting because of the washing machine, and at the same time, it arrives. Rudy apologizes to Debo for the headache she caused him. Alam then receives a phone from Rudy. Her mother is waiting for us to find her because he is tired. Then Rudy goes home with her, Debo. and then he is shocked when he finds the Abyssinian cat in the house. We learn that Rudy's mother found the cat in front of the door of the apartment, and he entered the house without her seeing him. And she screams for him to have lunch with them. And she prepares lunch, and as soon as Rudy makes a mistake in Abdelmaboud, he shouts at her, because the cat is afraid that he will transfer all of this to Abdelmaboud. And suddenly Rudy gives charity to Abdelmaboud while standing in front of the door of the apartment, and he knows that he came to her to tell her everything himself. And he sits with him and tells her that his wife was raped, and no one defended her or helped her, except that everyone said that she ran away with her love and died with him in the accident. And everything he did, and what he is still going to do, was to take revenge on her and come back. Her right, and he leaves her and Debo and walks away very sad. And then Debo is sleeping, and he loses his sleep and is very afraid. When he finds Ashjan sitting next to his bed and asks what she wants from him, she makes him a jacket so he can wear it. And you know that it is made for him only, and he has to wear it. And she takes his bear and goes to Hussein, and Bathory Abdelmaboud had come out of paper, white, and this makes Abdelmaboud upset because the money is still cursed. It's okay if Debo is really a thug, as they say about him, but Abdelmaboud denies it, and they know that people say a lot, and it's all a lie. Then Debo goes into the room with Abdelmaboud because he wants to pray, and suddenly he attacks him and threatens him with a razor to tell him who told him he was a thug. So Debo tells him that he heard. This is from a journalist named Rudy, and at the same moment, Ola confronts them and tells Debo that there is a girl. Outside, her name is Rudy. She wants to meet him, and then they threaten Abdelmaboud that if he tells her anything about him, he will kill his father and sister. He is afraid of Deba and goes out to Rudy and tries to expel her from the house in any way because he is afraid of what might happen to him and his family. Then Abdelmaboud comes out of the room and realizes that he takes Deba, and they walk together. I notice at that time that Rudy is hiding in the street and in the dirt, and then he takes Abdelmaboud and Deba to the hotel, and Debo stays behind. Abdelmaboud begs them not to enter the hotel because it is haunted, but Abdelmaboud ignores his words and enters a hotel. And then Debo is sitting with Abdelmaboud in his room, listening and talking about what happened to him. And they say that he was living happily with his wife, to the point that he said that she died with his love in an Arab accident. But the cat is Abyssinian. She bought a card that contained evidence of her innocence, and on it was written the number and address of a young man who always stayed at the hotel. He set his sights on his wife and impregnated her in front of everyone, and no one spoke or defended her. He made her ride in the car with the driver so he could throw her anywhere, after he threatened her that if she spoke, he would kill her. At that time, the car flipped over with her and the driver, and they died. He decided at the time to condemn and avenge her death and kill everyone who saw her being raped. They did not try to help her, but there were still 4 of them left, and no one knew where they were now. I know that he is the one who will be looking for them, and I miss them too. So Bess is angry with Debo at that time, and with his words, and tells him that it is possible for an Ethiopian cat to be wrong and understand this whole matter wrong. So he tells Loa that the Ethiopian understands human beings better than anyone else, and they say that he is the chosen one and the one who will be able to carry out revenge. And then the curse will be broken, and all the money will be his, and he will take all the money and tell Debo that he is not. He will be able to do this because he is old, and then Debo will discover that Rio and his hotel check-in at night are not hers, and he threatens Debo that if he speaks and says anything, he will be humiliated. Pippi is afraid of Debo and tells him that he will not say anything to anyone. Meanwhile, Rudy is hitting on Talat so that she can apologize to him for what happened. So you stay with him kindly, and they sit together, and you tell him about Abdul Mabud, that he is a serial killer, and you hide his picture, and when it comes out, he is shocked. He is afraid for Debo, so she decided to call Rudy with Dib to let him know that she knew that he was with the serial killer and to attack him, and if he did not help her, she would go and report them both to the police. At the same time, Dib was tired of what was happening to him, and as soon as Muhannad appeared, he asked him to kill him, but Muhannad was upset that he was not afraid. From him, as every time, and they read to the writer that he is not a goblin, as he said, and that he is an ordinary human being. But the joy of his life is that he scares people and sees them being terrified of him. In Saddam's house, Debo says that even Muhannad appears to be working and laughs at him. Then Debo discovers that his father and Rudy are in the hotel, along with Manas and Abdelkader, and they are afraid of Muhannad because he is wearing a scary outfit. Muhannad becomes annoyed with Debo to reassure them and make them not be afraid of him. At that time, Debo fights with him. Rudy is determined to find out from him where Abdel Mabud is. At this very moment, a stereo comes with juice for everyone, and they are drinking it. After a while, we discover that the juice contained hallucinogenic pills, and everyone is unconscious. Then, the next morning, you discover in Real that the hotel was upside down, with no money left, and the people were all asleep and not feeling themselves from drinking too much of the drugs they had taken, so they were killed by the police at that time. Then we see Debo in prison with everyone, and Ashkan comes to get Debo and Stereo out, and then Debo tells the officer that Stereo is the reason for all of this. He finds the ghost of a young girl in front of him on the stairs, and Muhannad comes to him to remind him that he must escape from above, not from below. So White must use the ladder, and when he reaches the roof, he does not find a ladder to get down from, and he remains drunk and does not know how to react. The first time he sees a black cat, he knows that it is a jinn, and from his fear, he faints. The next morning, we see Deb in the hospital, and Bella, his father, brings him flowers and extends checks for the price of the roses. He stayed in the hospital and was told that he knew what had happened to his mother, and at that time he became very nervous and wrote to his father that his father had left Ola, the one who cleaned the house, instead of arguing because she owed a lot of money like Debo, and he threatened Abdul Qadir that he would make him pay what he owed to his father by force, even if he died at the same moment. Ashjan and Fariel enter and ask everyone to leave them alone with Debo for a while. And when they all leave, you are angry with Debo because he wants to leave his job and walk away, and you know about the contract he spent without looking at him. There is a penalty clause of £5 million. He will pay if he leaves the job, and if he does not pay, he will go to prison for 80 years. He is depressed and afraid. After that, he will be discharged from the hospital and go to the Al Gharkan Foundation for overseas travel and its owner. His name is Ibrahim Al Gharkan, and he is an obligatory worker for people who have illegally immigrated in order to understand them. How will they protect themselves from drowning? They have some information to follow, and they know that if the sea sees them afraid, it will swallow you. Live brave, defiant, and memorized. What will they say to the sea when they see it? And make them repeat the slogan, I command the sea and its might, and the shark, I know it from its voice. Then Debo sits with Ibrahim Al Gharkan to let him know that he wants to travel. In no time, Debo is shocked by the amount I want Ibrahim, but Ibrahim assures him that he will ride in a hotel boat, And the next day we see Deba riding in the car that will take him to the place in the boat. But suddenly Ibrahim stops the car, and Debo gets out of it, and they get into a second private car alone. And then he is shocked when he finds Fariel and Ashkan in the car, and they take them to the hotel to finish his work. But Debo, he is trying to convince Ashkan that this job is not for him because he is the one. He saw that he was not laughing, and he agreed that he would go to prison. He was more merciful, but Ashkan was reassured and told him to go and sit in the bathroom on the second floor. And after 2 o'clock, the world would be safe in the hotel. To reassure him further, she said that she would come with him, so he would go and enter the hotel, and at that moment, she would lock the door on him and walk away. She and Ashkan and Besibo, and he caught the cat on Debo and snatched the mobile from him. So Debo ran behind her and Bella. She entered a room in which an old man named Abdel Maboud was sitting. Bella noticed that he was tired and wanted someone to get him an insulin injection from the refrigerator. So when he found him, he preferred to talk to his children, and the room was empty, and there was no one in it. So Abdel Maboud's family said, "If he is a goblin too, then I will go home to him, and they will know that no one sees him." Had it not been that Habash, his cat, was the one who came to him to seek help at the same time. He sees a piece of news on television about the arrest of Ibrahim al-Garkan, because he was the one who caused the sinking of a boat carrying young illegal immigrants. He breaks down and hugs his son sadly, and goes to Talat and fights with him because he is the reason for Debo's death. Then he collapses and hugs his son sadly, and at the hotel he finds a girl named Rudy. We notice that she is looking for a certain piece of paper, and when she comes out, she believes that the doors are locked, and at the same moment he sees Debo. "I hate the door moving, so I am afraid." He tells Abdel Maboud that the hotel is haunted, as he told him, and that he is not lying. He approached Abdel Maboud, but suddenly Debo finds him missing, and Beach is upset and opens the door, and then he finds Rudy in front of him, so he continues to take advantage of the situation and pretend that she is a jinn in order to scare Debo, and her plan actually succeeds. She walks away, and then a second Muhannad appears to Debo and is upset with him because he returns to the hotel and tries to kill him. With peace, but Debo stays away from him and keeps sleeping on the floor. He is afraid that Abdul Maboud will come back to him, and they know that he walked away because he saw the girl, and he doesn't want to see him. He tells Debo that she is not an ordinary girl because she is a jinn. Meanwhile, he delivers a stereo to the hotel, so Abdelkader was afraid that he would ruin the plan for them, and he goes to him and talks to him and asks for 200,000 so that he does not enter the hotel now. So he agreed to the stereo. When Abdul Maboud leaves the hotel, he gets into the car with his daughter and Abdul Kader, and they walk and go to the house to divide the money. But at the same moment, Debo makes a video call to Abdel Maboud, and they find out that he is the one who is stupid and foolish, because he remembers that he believes that Faisal and his wife are truly devilish and pure at that time, and they know that they are with him, and they knew everything, except for the transcript, Fariel, and the stereo, and he tells them that the bag they have is full of paper. White in the house of Saddam Abdel Maboud, he and everyone know Deeb that, and he brought them a gift, and they will find him in the room. In Beirut, they quickly see the gift, and many believe that it is a box and the body of Arafa in it. At the same time, they find someone banging on the door of the apartment violently, but Abdul Kader is reassured at that time when he finds his men, and suddenly the police arrive. So Abdul Maboud disconnects the electricity so that he can escape and leave. His wife and daughter are arrested by the police, And in the meantime, while Abdul Mabud is escaping, someone comes. He stabs him with a knife to take his father's rights from him, and then Debo thanks Faisal for agreeing to help him and participate in his plan. So they tell Faisal that he is supposed to be the one thanking him, because if it weren't for me, his time would have lost all his money. So Debo tells him that the one who revealed everything is Asterio. And we go back in time for a while, and we see Asterio, and he sees, by coincidence, Bakr al-Kurdi is alive and well, as if he had never been in any accident, and it is possible to know from him that everything. This was an act and an agreement. And then Deeb and Stereo seized a platform, because he knew that he was involved in the plan with Abdul Mabud and those with him. And he kept confessing to them all the details and notifying me in order to frame Abdul Mabud and those with him. And at the present time in Qom, the police are fighting. I came out with Abdul Qadir because of what he did to his son, and after that, the prosecution investigates everyone, and then Debo and everyone with him deny that they saw Abdul Mabud or any of the accused, and that this is the first time they have seen them. In their lives, Debo realizes that Muhannad remains Arafa's brother and his only heir. In Beirut, Debo is with Muhannad and talks to him and learns from him that his father has lost trust in all humans and made this hotel for animals because he did not want to deal with humans at all. And after he died, he preferred to know her alone. But Arafa was sold out. It is as if they are not sisters. And despite this, Muhannad loves Arafa and asks Debo about him if he knows where he is. So Debo picks it up. He says that he is traveling and he is his guardian. So it turns out that he decides to get engaged, and Debo talks to his father about his mother because he wants to know if something really happened and he was the reason for it. So his father told him that his mother stopped him and looked at the worker, and she was very upset with him. And at the same moment, they know who the girl is. On her, and they decide that he should be responsible for the hotel and give him a general power of attorney, because he is the one who has his rights restored to him and not. He will be able to handle the work of the hotel alone, and then he will get hold of Stereo and Debo. A man named Mamoun is trying to break into the hotel and writes that Abdel Mabud is the one who sold him and that he is still alive and not working. He will bring Debo to prepare a new plan for him. It is easy to take revenge on him. So Stereo enters the place where Abdel Mabud is after he learned his whereabouts from Mamoun. But he grabs him and says nothing. And Abdul Mabud then sends a message to someone named Jihan to meet her and break up. With her, she crashes his place in Shawwal in order to deceive Debo and make him think that he has kidnapped him. He comes in an ambulance, takes Debo with him, and then stops in the car and forces Debo to sell the hotel with the power of attorney and divide the money together. But Debo refuses because he will not be able to betray Muhannad, and we meet at the same time that there is. Someone is filming Abdel Mabud and his father from afar, his eyes full of evil, and the earthquake ends, aware of anything. And then they would play on Debo until he believed every word they said. Even the buyer would believe that Debo was a spiritual person, and they deliberately let him see in Al-Hussein all the time, because he and his wife believed in these things. And it would happen that he was Debo. He is the owner of the hotel, and Debo told him that 4 people must die because they raped Marat Abdul Mabud. He wants to take revenge on them, and we will go to Asyan. She is the one who wants this, and he will get his actors to play these roles, and we return to the present time. At the same time, Abdelkader will be sitting with Abdel Mabud and his family so that they can be held accountable, and each one takes his right and comes with a rial. And we learn that she also shares with them and did this because she needs the money. What her little sister did is that they were installing microphones for the cat Habash, and in the place to make Debo think that he reads the thoughts and the cat talks to him. And the surprise is that Mons is also Abdul Qadir's partner in his plan and agreed with him that he will take 100,000 pounds. This is not Saeed al-Gawhari and Ziyad, who were following Abdul Qadir. Also, everything that happened with Debo was just an act, and suddenly at the same moment, Debo arrives and believes it when he sees them. They are all sitting together, so Abdul Mabud quickly gets up and turns off the light to make Debo believe that he is imagining, and all that he saw was due to spiritual communication. But Debo then asked Abdel Mabud to leave him alone because he did not want to take his life. So Abdel Mabud wasted his video of him burying Rudy's mother. So Debo became afraid and walked away. And then Abdel Mabud calls the buyer, and we find out that his name is Faisal. And they say that the owner of the hotel he is ready to sell, but he wants 60 million out of 200. As soon as his mind wanders, he tells Faisal that this is a large amount, but Abdul Mabud enters him through the door of the spiritual servant and does not focus on him, so he asks for charity. And at that time, he and his wife remember the imposter woman who told them about the great livelihood that will come from behind the animal hotel, and its owner is a spiritual man and wearing a certain jacket, and that her words actually turned out to be true, and it happened. And we go back in time to that time, and we see Farial, and she plays the role of an imposter on a class, and his wife, and learns that a lot of good is coming to them through animals, and makes him completely believe that the hotel. This is the sign and evidence of her words, and at the present time, we see Faisal and his wife going to the hotel, and there is a mail session at night, and he feels reassured. At that time, Debo is surprised at what is happening, and how Abdul Mabud is a devil and a male ring attendant, and that Faisal is among the four whom Abdul Mabud wants to take revenge on, and Peter. He leaves him alone because he does not want to kill another person, so he kills Abdul Mabud and completes his plan and laughs at him. He makes him go through a lot of papers without reading them, and he goes with the finished paper and holds it in his hand and takes the bag that contains the money and walks away.